Hi Chris, how are you?
Good evening, Rod. Yeah, I'm well. Here we are. It's the 14th of July, 2025, and it's episode 181.
It is. That's not a nice round number, but it's still quite a high one, isn't it? It's going well.
It's just dawned on me when we did last week's, we should have gone 180, like they do when they do the darts score.
That's a very...
Triple 20?
No.
No.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Triple 20. It's a very British thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
I can't think that'll translate well. I mean, I don't know.
Doesn't everyone have darts?
I know, but my French counting doesn't go up high enough to know what 180 is in French. So
True, it is. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Some commentator somewhere gave it 180 in there. It's ever been. Do you remember that TV show, Bullseye, back in the day?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't remember the Jim
Bowen.
Jim Bowen, thank you. Bullseye. Yeah. What a show. That is a very British reference.
That's a very British reference, and you can't beat a bit of Billy, can you?
Can't be a bit of Billy. So we've probably lost all our... If we had any listeners, we've lost them all now.
Absolutely. Tell us about the weather.
The weather, mixed, muggy and wet.
Yeah, I think that's about right. It's been a scorching week for us here on the coast. I think it's been a scorching week across the UK. Temperatures up to 32, 33 in some cases. Very uncomfortable. We don't have air conditioning here in the UK. It's been a trial at times.
Yeah, we're not overly built for it, but yeah, it's been challenging. But a bit of rain is actually quite welcome for all the plants and everybody's well-being. I think it was quite pleasant.
I think it was. Should we fire in and do some follow-up?
Let's do it.
So first up, we've talked previously before about Apple's attempt to integrate LLMs directly into Xcode. It was meant to happen last year and didn't. There is something this year, though I will be honest. Even though I installed the relevant betas and everything, I didn't get the motivation to actually make it work. Have you managed to make it work in Xcode?
I have briefly tried it, but annoyingly, for various reasons, I haven't done a lot of Xcoding, which I'm really disappointed by because I was having a good streak for a while. You can't use it, though, if you're running the previous version of macOS 15. You have to be running Tahoe, so macOS 26. I wish they dropped the name, with the latest version of Xcode for it to work. So it's hard to do it if you just want to have a little noodle in Xcode on your existing Mac. Yeah,
so I did have the relevant version, but I got distracted and started doing something else instead of doing the integration. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is Michael Tsai, who has the excellent blog that we refer to fairly frequently. Back on July the 10th, has a little thing on how to actually make Gemini work with the Xcode. So if that's something you were hoping for, maybe Gemini's coding engine is better than whatever Apple is using. I think you can in Apple's link out to other things too, but if you really want a Gemini in there, now you can.
I think Apple have been quite smart here by letting you bring your LLM to the party. I think it's quite good. They know they haven't got the best show in town. So I think it's quite good. And this is great that you can put Gemini in there, or you can use OpenAI they've already got and others.
I mean, I guess, as we mentioned before, the biggest problem is actually the rate-limiting step in this is Swift itself, that there isn't as much Swift coding and knowledge, and the fact that they don't announce what's going to change inside of Swift till very, very close to WWDC, even though it is nominally an open-source project. It's kind of limited by what Apple actually put into the beta, and then the final release. So it takes a long time for there to be any useful knowledge about. So I remember, I think it was Actors, when they introduced Actors or non-sequential stuff with an Xcode. I'm on the edge of knowing what I'm talking about at this point. That there wasn't a lot of information like that in LLMs or Stack Exchange for them to hoover up. So that's the problem, really.
Yeah, and obviously, will it know all the new APIs that have just come out? And so I think it is good, but you will struggle with if you're doing anything on the bleeding edge.
Absolutely. Something that was talked about in the beta, but I didn't see in the brief time I was using it before I went back to the normal iOS on my phone, is one of the features that's coming is proactive features to maps. So if it knows your commutes, it will warn you if there's unusual traffic or the way you would normally go, or something that they advertised on stage as being a thing. This is just an article in 9to5Mac reiterating that this is going to be a useful thing. And we've kind of got off this talking about the betas, haven't we? So it's interesting that they're obviously still in some people's minds.
I guess 9to5Mac are trying to drum up page views whilst it's quite quiet summer. This is quite cool. I always thought Maps was learning your routes anyway, but I beg to differ because it always seemed to want to take me its way rather than the way I always drive. But no, it's good. Yeah, I love Apple Maps, and I actually use Apple Maps all the time. So I'll be keen to see what this looks like.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as love. I think it's a good mapping product these days. I think it's one of these things you just tolerate in the sense that we've become so dependent on maps, be it Google or Apple, that it's just a feature we expect to happen. I did watch a video from, I think it's called Consumer Connections, when he was talking about how we're letting AI just take over all of our day-to-day decisions. And you going in your normal commute, you may know that the route you've picked is better than the one the map has picked, but many people will just go along with the map anyway because they assume that it's better. But that's not necessarily the case because you have the local knowledge. It's just working on its algorithm for what's best and is accounting for a 2-minute delay, and that may still be better. But actually, it avoids that roundabout you hate coming to, or that awful junction, or the fact there's usually parked cars on that road or something like that. And his point was,
or you want to stop at your favourite coffee shop.
Or you want to stop it. And that is actually what his point was, is that you may miss there being some interesting new business or something that really needs your custom on the way by, as opposed to it briefly taking you on a motorway and back off or something like that. So while I agree with you, maps are incredibly useful, and when I go to a foreign country, I absolutely rely on them. It kind of switches off that part in their brain that we used to be able to sort of find our way around places. And I'm sure for some people, they've never known anything else but that. It's part of the driving test in the UK now.
Yeah, people's sense of direction is problematic. I was with some friends on Friday and we drove 2 hours away, and my friend was using Waze, and I hadn't really appreciated how much Waze nags you. There's a parked car coming up, there's a roadway, and it wants you to push OK, and it's got a bar going across. I thought that's more distracting than I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd just pop up, but it was really inviting you to tap it away, which I thought wasn't a great UI design.
Yeah, you can ignore it. It assumes that what it's alerted you about is still in progress if you just leave it alone.
Yep.
So if there is a car stopped on the hard shoulder, if you don't tap it, it assumes the car's still there unless you tell it otherwise. And I think it waits for a critical mass of reports. I agree, you do have to interact with the screen. At the same time, I really appreciate it when people do tell you that there's something up and coming, or there's a speed camera ahead, or there's an upcoming collision or everything.
Or there's an obstacle or whatever it may be.
Exactly, and my Volvo actually lets me do this too. Built into my Google Maps on the main display of the car, I can report collisions and things in the hard shoulder and all the rest of it. But it is distracting from what's up and coming, so it's a real knife edge, isn't it?
I thought it was very distracting.
Anyway, this is quite good. Alternate routes. We'll see how this goes in iOS 26. I mean, I think we've all been once bitten, twice shy a little bit with some of the features being promised in Maps. He said still waiting for cycling directions in the UK.
Oh, we have that now.
You sure?
I used it the other day.
Maybe we do. All I know is when I landed in Holland a couple of weeks back, I got notified that now there was cycling directions, so I'm not sure.
Maybe it's because I'm on iOS 26, but I did try it the other day with my son.
Maybe it is. Oh, well, there you go. Real-time show notes feedback, Chris. That's your mission for next week.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
Moving on, we had a flurry of this last year, I seem to recall. The Outlook was down every sort of 5 minutes. Not Exchange services or Office 365, but actually Outlook Mail. So if you're an Outlook.com customer, your mailbox keeps going down, and it went down for 11 hours on the 10th of July. And that's not good for a company that want the kind of uptime that Microsoft promise.
It's not good for somebody using email, is it, though? Because, 2FA codes, order updates, tracking, flights, stuff gets emailed to you. It's not a good look. This is also a problem, though, where Microsoft have overused the name Outlook, like Apple have with Apple TV, TV Plus, etc. They've overused it because is this Outlook? Is this the mobile app? Is this the desktop client? But it sounds like it's really Outlook.com.
Microsoft's branding, if this is possible, is even worse than Apple's. So Apple TV Plus, is it Apple TV the product, or is it Apple TV Plus the thing? The whole Copilot thing taking over all aspects of Microsoft's website is just egregious.
Agreed.
It popped up in my Mac Outlook toolbar at work the other day. The third thing down, I think it's mailbox, calendars, and then the third option, which used to be contacts, has now been supplanted by Copilot.
They're co-piloting all the things, aren't they?
Well, I went through the menus, and there's a little toggle to say switch off Copilot features. It still left the icon there, though.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, thanks, Microsoft. I don't want it. I'm not going to use it.
No. I don't need it. Turn it off. I hate adverts. I've started using Outlook on my phone, and because I'm on the free version, I get a little ad at the top of my inbox. But I couldn't find any way to subscribe to have no ads, and I was like, I would probably pay not to have the ads, but they didn't seem to want to give me that option.
I think if I was on a Mac platform or an Apple platform, I wouldn't choose Outlook. I'd pick Fantastical if I wanted calendar invites, or I'd pick Thunderbird or something else that would support it rather than download a product that's full of ads that I dislike.
I think because I had so many years of using it, my brain is just wired to Microsoft.
You should maybe take the free trial of Fantastical and see how you get on with that, because I mean that was your problem, wasn't it? Was getting invite notifications.
Yep, and how you accept them. But Microsoft, I'm just so used to using Outlook, and so I think that's why I've quite enjoyed going back to it a little bit.
I don't know. At the start of the year, we're going to use less American things if we can, and look at you creeping back into that.
I know I'm a bad person.
I mean, it's probably an American thing, Fantastical anyway, but it's not the big corporate one, at least.
No, true. That was more what I was aiming for, is how do I get off the big corporate stuff.
Here we go then. Mission 2 for next week is you must try Fantastical and see how you go on.
I have tried Fantastical, actually. I need to revisit it now. I've got more meetings going in.
Rat hole. I tried to use it corporately, but it would not play well with our Exchange server at work.
Right. I haven't got that problem at the moment, but that may well come.
So it's just a thought. Moving on. And Apple doing the right thing eventually. So from July the 9th, reported on the 9 to 5 Mac, that if you use iCloud on Windows, now there's Firefox support for Apple passwords. So, yay?
Yeah, it does feel like they're slowly chipping away. That's what it does feel like. They're slowly getting Apple passwords out there a little bit more. I think it's good.
Yeah, we need a Linux version, please, Apple. Why wouldn't you do that? You may as well. You just put it on all of the things. Put it on PlayStations. Make it easier for people to use your application.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've got all my family using it. I would like to see it in more places.
Yep, totally. Anywhere there's a browser, really, they should have something like this with the appropriate security in order to allow you to enable it, of course. And just to sort of step back a little bit from my continual criticism of Firefox, because for those watching the video, you'll see I'm using Firefox for this, is that I'm in my head, I'm trying to separate Firefox the company and Firefox the product, because Firefox the product is perfectly good. It's just being spoiled by the company.
Separating the art from the artiste.
Something like that, yeah.
What I am enjoying, I must just... Well, on Apple passwords is now my children are getting older and they've all got their own Apple passwords account. I can now take all their usernames and passwords out of my password vault and give them to them and not hold the master of those passwords, which I'm quite enjoying.
That's a lot of responsibility.
But they need to manage their own stuff, and you can always reset things, but it's nice to free mine up and have it just my stuff in there.
Yeah. Moving on, and the perpetual story, Donald Trump is unhappy with Apple. We know this has been a case for a while, despite Apple bending the knee and putting the $1 million and all sorts of other claims that have happened since. In this case, he's still not happy with the reliance on China. And actually, I remember reading a story about he didn't like the fact that the switch to India wasn't going to be good enough either. So this is interesting. So it's from July the 9th. Apple thinks it's too big to tariff, according to Donald Trump, but I don't think this is going to be the case. I think they're in the crosshairs, as the article says.
Yeah, but equally, I think they need to have a plan with Donald to do the migration away. You know, they can't just turn it on in one year. It's a multi-year plan, if not a decade-long plan of transition.
I don't think he understands that, though. That's the fundamental problem. Is he thinks he sold real estate. It's quite easy, I would have thought, to make concrete and throw up a building. You know, it's a bit different if you're trying to make one of the most complicated mass consumer items in the world.
Yeah, and squillions of them.
Yeah, I mean, in the quotes here, it's the longest running soap opera in Silicon Valley. And my problem with Tim Cook is he never takes the steps to actually do it. That is, leave China. That's fighting talk.
That's not good, is it?
Well, it's not good for Apple. I slightly wonder if this new rumoured, as we talked about last week, cheaper MacBook or iBook or whatever it is they're going to call it, will be assembled in America, just to sort of get past this.
Yeah, you could see it happening, couldn't you? Like they used to build the Mac Pro there.
Well, the one a month or whatever it was they needed.
Yeah, quite. But now they're going to go the other way and do the mass consumer device.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. So that was that. Once again, Apple not winning favour with the people in charge of America. Moving on, apparently there are a change to the way your Mac may arrive when you purchase from the shop. Last year we talked about the ability to update iPhones while they were still in their boxes. There was like a pizza oven type thing that would exist in Apple stores. They could sling a load of boxes on it and run them up to the latest version of the OS before they left the shop. Apparently there is now a plan to do the same thing with Macs, which is pretty cool.
It's quite cool. It's glad to see this is rolling out to other things. I'm surprised I managed to make it work for the Mac because I thought it might be just more complicated. But this is great because you want people, like when you advise your friends or family to go and get a device, you know they're not going to go and do software update. You want it to come up to date. So I think that's really good.
I think it's really good too. I'm fascinated to know technically how this would work. it just blows my mind slightly. I know there's NFC chips and things like that inside of phones that can sort of turn them on and you can do clever things like that. But this is just on another level, really.
Yeah, it's on another level. Like, I kind of with you. It feels like some crazy magic thing they're doing.
Yeah, it's exactly that. We're both fairly technical. We should be able to understand this thing, but I just haven't got a clue how you do this. Yeah. Without plugging in a wire or connecting to the internet.
I'd firing it up and going update computer. I completely agree with you. I'd like to know more on this.
Yep, absolutely. Last but not least, for follow-up, Beta 3 came out just after we finished, I think, last week, which I've installed on my iPad and my Mac, one of my Macs, but certainly not on my phone. Oh my God, no. And now there's a new feature in iPadOS 26 Beta 3, which is if you wibble the mouse cursor, it gets larger like it does in macOS.
I actually find this super useful on the iPad more than on the Mac, because the cursor on the iPad just feels infinitesimally small. It's on my 11-inch iPad Pro, so I think it's good they've done this. Yay. It
did inspire me to power up my iPad long enough to have a wibble with the cursor anyway to see if it got bigger, and it did. It's not quite right. It's not quite flowing for me yet. I see the improvements in the iPad, but the modes sort of switching for what's a full screen window when I come out of it, what gets pushed to the side, if I tap the desktop, where do the windows go? It's not. It's probably because I'm not a big enough iPad user that I haven't gelled with it yet. Maybe I need to embrace the iPad and only the iPad for a week, and I'll get it. So I can logically I know it's better, but my heart's not going along with it really.
It's quite jarring, I think, when you do some of the interactions and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that to happen. Like, especially when you go full screen, it's like, oh, where's all my other apps gone? And then, oh, look, I can just drag it or minimize it. And I think you just need to play with it and build up some comfort.
I think that's fair. I'll just need to immerse myself on iPad for a couple of weeks is maybe the answer.
I would not like to be in the room while you do that.
I'm quite resistant to it. I think that my position on the iPad is well known.
Yes, and there'd be some shouting.
There'd certainly be some swearing.
Agreed.
Anything else in follow-up?
No, let's do the news.
Let's do the news. So I think that first one's probably on me. We talked about a year ago at this point about the NHS choosing Palantir as its sort of back-end platform for joining all of the data up and doing a lot of the linkage for healthcare data in England, not in Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland. And that was under examination for the fact it just sort of got waved through post-COVID. And not a lot of people know that Palantir is a CIA-based offshoot of a chap called Peter Thiel, who's very much on a Trump supporter, and you can make of that what you will.
He was one of the original investors in Facebook, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Interesting character. Anyway, Palantir it can make your own choices about, an American tech company that's an offshoot of the CIA having access to Britain's health data. Whether that makes you happy or not, that's entirely up to you. I suspect most people don't even know about it. But the long and the short of it is they're struggling slightly because the English NHS is so out of date, which makes me smile, frankly. I'm glad that they're finding problems like this. So what Palantir are now saying, according to this article in the Register from the 10th of July, is that you need to update the NHS so we can have better access to your data, please.
That's quite a statement, isn't it?
It's a bit.
It's a bit. You need better tech. You've got rubbish tech. We found all your rubbish tech. Can you make it better?
Well, how dare you, frankly? If you're a spy company, surely you're able to deal with whatever you got on the table. And it's going to be old. It's going to be Windows 10 and maybe some older bits and pieces in places and, slightly out-of-date databases. But please make it easier for us to copy all your stuff out of your health service.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't like any of this, by the way.
I'm glad you don't like any of this. I think more people should be really upset about this, frankly. And
but most people probably won't even know this has happened.
It makes me very sad. And when I think about it too much, I get very cross, considering what we do for a living in my university and what I know the Welsh NHS Trust does as part of this as well. The Welsh NHS, not the Welsh NHS Trust, which isn't part of the Palantir deal. But, it's a lot of people's health data that's potentially going into this. And you could imagine if this was a Chinese company getting this, how the response would be portrayed.
Oh, yeah, it'd be very different.
Yeah. It doesn't strike me as being very straight down the middle with the UK public, something like this.
No, agreed.
Something else that's not straight down the middle with the UK public is a little deal that popped up in The Guardian this week. And this is about, apparently, our civil servants aren't tech-enabled enough, so they've done a deal with Google in order to teach civil servants and Secretary of State, people like that, to be better at tech. And that's just what you want, isn't it? Another large United States agency with no potential interest in advertising, data management, any of that kind of stuff, having access to your civil service.
And lock them into their services, I'm sure. It's a bit worrying, isn't it?
All of this stuff's a bit worrying, frankly. After all the sort of posturing about, we need to stop, aligning ourselves so much with American tech companies, the big 7 tech companies, it's just smoke in the air, isn't it? None of this matters. They're just where they were.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating, to say the least. I think it's just worrying as well, though, the lack of technical knowledge that some of these departments will have. And it's the same in all companies, but companies need to do more, I think, to address it, internally, because people just haven't got the tech abilities, have they? They need to learn this, and it's part of their job now. You need a minimum level of tech competency.
I mean, this is a problem with schools and universities not teaching the skills that people need, and the workplaces not teaching the skills that people need. Where does our reliance on this end? Are you going to go to Google Gemini to find out how to do your job and not have the technical understanding to know what's right and what's wrong as part of that? Yes, because Google's going to tell you, just fire all this stuff into Gemini, in the same way Microsoft's doing all of its code.
Just give us all your data.
Just give us all your data. We'll teach you how to use our products, and you're going to keep using our products and not question it. And in the meantime, we're going to make even more money out of this. This whole thing, these last 2 stories, which are linked together on purpose, they just make you despair a little bit. And again, I worry about us getting a bit too depressing with some of the news, but stuff like this is just, you're like, oh, come on, think about this for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. Let's talk about something slightly nicer. Apparently, the next iteration of the dynamic island, and this was from 9 to 5 Mac on the 11th of July, is going to be better. There's no detail in this article at all that it's going to be better, but I presume this means this rumoured sort of pinhole camera with sort of an underscreen camera with a much shrunk dynamic island, and they'll be able to do more with that blacked out space. Or
is it just going to be the animations are going to be different? Because they haven't really changed, have they? Are they going to be different with the iOS 26? I don't know. It's quite interesting. And is this going to come to all phones or just be on the Pro phones? Because you've got to think they're going to want to differentiate the Pro phone, not just the 3 cameras, but for other stuff to just push people to, because that's what Apple do, isn't it? They want to push you to buy the next phone that you weren't looking at.
I think they have a lot of problem with their screens in that the ProMotion screens, which, correct me if I'm wrong, are they 120 hertz or are they 90?
120.
120, okay. So your default Android phone these days is 90 hertz. So almost in the ProMotion range anyway, even for the very cheap phones, sort of 300, 400 pound range, all have high refresh rate screens. So Apple's differentiation for a very high refresh rate, 120 hertz is great, and it can go all the way down to 1. That's one of the things they've got, well done for the active stuff that happens when you leave your screen on all the time. That sort of differentiation needs to come down to the more base models, I think.
Yeah, it's been very slow to push down the line.
It's been very slow, and even if they whacked it up to 90 hertz, which frankly they could drop the Pro phones down to 90 hertz, and I don't think most people would notice, but you do need a faster refresh rate screen. So I think you could go 120 in the Pro, 90 in everything else, and that would give you a good point of differentiation. They were very quick to bring the dynamic island to the rest of the range, though, weren't they?
Yeah, and I'm glad they have, because I think that's a user interface feature. It's a bit like getting rid of the home button. It's taken too long because they were up until recently still selling a button with the home button, a phone with the home button. But you kind of want to see those basic things pushed down to everybody. So everybody's using their phone in the same way. But things like the refresh rate is more of a bonus feature, isn't it?
I think it's table stakes. In the same way, I think this new MacBook that they're going to bring out should just have the same screen as the current MacBook Air, and then the MacBook Air should get a better refresh rate screen. It's just a quality of life feature that people expect.
Yeah, it's the minimum entry is now higher than what it used to be, so push it down rather than put a worse one in.
It's not the Tim Cook way, but then speaking of the Tim Cook way, one of his potential successors is actually leaving Apple and retiring before him.
And he's actually turns out to be a very similar age, I believe, to Tim Cook. So this is the news that Jeff Williams, the current COO, is going to retire this year, and he was doing the job that Tim Cook was doing when Steve Jobs was there. He's running all the operations, but he's also got the Apple design department and fitness and the watch, wearables reported into him. So he's got quite a broad remit for operations. He's not just getting boxes around the world.
I don't actually understand this. Operations guys are essential, particularly, and it's one of the things that's made Apple truly great is that their operations are on it. accounting for changes in tariffs in countries and all that kind of stuff. But ignoring that, Apple operations are world leading.
Yep.
Why would design fit under that?
Maybe he said, I need something, a bit more to take on, or Johnny Ive left and they were like, where do we put design? So it just feels like it's just one they've given to somebody because they didn't know where to put it.
For me, this feels more like it should be in Federighi's team, who knows about software, but what do I know?
I think, given Apple's company, they should have they should have a proper C-suite, an ops person, a hardware person, a design person, a software person. They've all got the chief job titles. But for some reason, they don't really do chief job titles. I don't know if that's an American thing, but they have a chief executive officer, Tim, and they've got a chief operations officer, but they don't do any more. Everybody else is senior vice president, which is a way more American thing than what we have.
Yeah, lots of VPs, isn't it? This will be interesting that you think operations has continued to be a success. Would it have continued to be a success just with Tim anyway, because he knew it inside and out? I suspect there's very competent people recruited to the operations department based on it being Tim's and then, Tim's trusted lieutenant under it. So I think it will continue to be a success. The bits that are problematic in Apple are App Store, corporate, all the things we continually talk about in this podcast. Anyways, long and the short of it is to say, he's not going to be the next CEO, is he? We're going to have Tim for a little bit longer. He shows no signs of going away, despite clamour from the Apple pundit sphere. But I wonder who it will be.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what their succession plan's going to look like. Because is Tim going to do this forever?
Well, he's not going to do it forever. And more than that, Apple don't recruit externally for this kind of thing. They haven't. Well, they used to. It was the last external recruit, Steve Jobs, but he wasn't that external.
That was a reverse acquisition.
Yeah, it was. And before that, it was Scully, and Scully was ex-CEO of PepsiCo, and that didn't go well.
That didn't go well at all, did it?
Not at all. So it'd be interesting to see where it comes from. Maybe it's someone we haven't seen, but I would have thought surely one of the people we've seen on the keynotes over the last few years would be the person most likely to get it.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see how it goes.
So I hear Bill Gates is available.
Okay, see. That would be weird. Don't you think?
Yeah, it would be weird. Moving on to something a little weird, but not so much. It was the Galaxy Unpacked event this week. They announced all their foldy things, foldy phones being the specific thing. Specifically, they announced the new Galaxy Z Fold 7, which looks amazing.
Look at that screen.
You can barely see the crease anymore.
Yeah, okay. You need to see that in person, I think. I always thought they did a good job of it anyway.
I agree. Obviously, the hinges are up to it these days. I think there's a phone by Honor that is even thinner with a bigger battery. Some of the criticisms about this, and hang on, I'll back up a second. The Z Fold 7 is meant to be fantastic. It's the best iteration that Samsung have done with this. They've made a bit of a leap forward the screen. They sort of did a talk last time in terms of it was only a little bit better than the 5 that came before it with the 6, but the 7 is truly an evolutionary leap. It's faster. It's got less crease in it. It's got slightly better battery. It's got better charging. Everything about it seems to be positive. Better screens and all the rest of it. Better camera. I think it's the same camera that's in the Ultra.
Okay.
Yeah, to that extent. So really well executed phone, but the battery's only something like 4,900 milliamp hours, whereas the Honor one is 5,700 and goes for an awful lot longer. Which on a phone this size, that's all screen, I think you'd want as much battery in it you can get. So it feels like it's good. It's only 4.2 millimeters thick. Imagine that.
Or 4.2 millimeters thin.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. I would love a foldy phone. I think I've said it before. So, yeah, I think it looks good. I want one of these.
Yeah, I think it's great. They're taking away the S Pen support for it this time. I know S Pen's a big thing for the top-end Samsung phones, but I don't remember seeing anyone using one in public for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'd feel about it. I guess because I've never had a pen on it, I don't know whether I'd miss it or not.
Second phone released, Galaxy Z Flip 7. So this is the one that folds in half.
Equally, I know you said I want the big phone, but I quite fancy one of these.
Come on, that does look cool, doesn't it?
It's good. It looks like an iPhone there, by the way.
Just that front screen is beautiful, and it's a significant upgrade on the front screen for it. You can actually do that for something useful before you unfold it. I think that's a sweet spot for a lot of people on a phone.
Yeah, and it flips to 6.9 inches.
Which is really impressive.
Which is what the new iPhone Pro Max, I think, size when you open it out. I quite fancy one. As much as I've said I want the tablet one, when I'm not working, I'd probably want that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want in your pocket. You can triage your stuff on the outside. When you got something to do, you flip it open. I think the big one is if you actually wanted an iPad mini, and the small one is what most people probably want, a nice, foldable phone. That's probably quite a satisfying action to end a call by snapping it shut. I think
Quite
this
a good fidget toy.
I think it's a terrific looking thing.
Yeah, it looks good.
They're also doing a cheap one, so there's the Flip FE. I think it's Fan Edition is what the FE stands for in Yeah, there you go. What it stands for in Samsung land. Starts at $900. It uses the same display tech that was on last year's Flip, so that's proven at this point. I just think this is a terrific phone. How much is a basic iPhone? $699, $799?
About £600.
Right, so that's comparable to a base model iPhone.
It's good, isn't it?
I think
it looks quite funky.
Yeah, extends out to 6.7 inches. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, 256 of storage, and a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. I think that's a really compelling device.
Will Apple ever do a phone that flips that way?
I don't know. I think all the rumors are they're going to go for the fold on the spine rather than the width of the phone rather than the length of the phone. But I think I'm with you. I think these smaller foldables are actually where it's at.
Yeah. But they need to address both ends of the market, really, don't they?
Well, maybe. I think Apple fans would pay a premium for something like this. And I think if Apple's position has been we've got to wait till the crease on the screen is sufficient that you can not see it or it's infinitesimal, fine. But in the meantime, Samsung, Honor, Huawei, other companies like that are getting out there and selling these things. They really are, and getting the know-how for how the software works. Now, that's where Apple's advantage has traditionally been. But and will continue to be, because the iPad and iOS, they are fairly seamless moving between them. I think, although you'd know better than me, I think iOS apps are probably easier to translate to iPad size based on Xcode platform than a lot of Android's ones. That's where Android has struggled slightly on these, but these just look fantastic to me.
Yeah, I agreed.
New watch. I don't know an awful lot about the watches, but I quite like the fact you get round face in Android watches and always have.
I don't disagree with that. I think Apple did miss a trick here.
Yep, very much so. And there's a cheaper one, and they get a bit more AI stuff. But I think this is a really compelling lineup. And this is just their foldables. This isn't including the S26 when it comes out.
Yeah, I can't keep up with how they do it, and I'm sure Apple are going to go the same way at some point. But fair play to them. And like Samsung are releasing a lot of devices year on year. They're really iterating, and they're releasing some fantastic stuff.
They're walking and chewing gum at the same time.
100%. It looks really good.
I'm totally with you on that.
But they look great. Their industrial design generally looks really good.
And I'd say visually distinct now from Apple's. Once upon a time they were copying Apple. Now they do their own thing.
Yeah, they're still adjacent, I would suggest. But I think the copying goes both ways. But I think I do like their hardware design. I wouldn't be upset to have one of those devices. I do think some of them look a bit gargantuan and rectangular, and some of their devices are huge. I can't think what the model numbers are. Probably I'm thinking of the Ultra phone, but I think they look great. I think they're doing a really good job.
Tell us about the new sky blue colour for the iPhone 17.
I'm so annoyed. I really want the 17 Air, and I want it to be a really good phone, but I'm worried that when it launches, I'm going to be they've cut too much out of it. So the 17 Air apparently is going to come in, I'm going to say blackish, whitish, goldish, and now bluish, all washed out, no good colours, which I'm gutted about because this is a phone I want to be really good. But if it carries on like this, I'm going to end up getting the Pro. I'm
looking at these, and they feature Apple's new industrial design of a camera Mesa in the same way that, it's closer to what Google do with the Pixel, frankly, than anything else with a bar. I don't understand why you'd only put one camera on this thing. I know it's thin, but if we go back and look at what Samsung have just put on their folding phones, they've both got dual cameras.
Yeah, I'm not as upset about the camera situation as I thought it would be. I think I've learned the Pro phone is just too pro for me now. I'm not that pro because it's got all the slow-mo stuff I never use, and it really is getting very pro. And I want the Air to be the phone for me, but we need to see when they launch it, don't we? But I really want to make it my phone, but I'm unsure at the moment.
You're right though. These colours are pants. This is grey. It's not black. If I want a black phone, I want a black phone.
There's just no definition to the colours, are there? That's why I called them ish colours, because they're all just ish.
Well, I think ish is right in the same way that all the current Pros are greyish. These are colour-ish. Why give us strong anodized colours? This is a phone you want to display.
And I don't have a case, and it makes me kind of want to get the white phone again, but I've had a white phone for the last 4 years.
Something different would be nice. It's a shame. If that was a strong blue, you'd be all over it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like the current iPhone 16 is. My daughter's iPhone 16 is the most beautiful blue colour.
Yeah, no, it's a good colour.
It's a very strong colour. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Google's path forward with Android and Chrome OS?
This was just a brief one. Apparently they're going to merge Chrome OS and Android OS together, which I can't believe they haven't done more of this already. And I kind of forgotten about Chrome OS because you don't hear a lot about it. But it kind of makes sense. Like they should share the code base because they're probably relatively small user bases for Chrome OS and Android tablets. So why wouldn't they try and bring them together? Kind of like Apple's done with iPhone and iPad OS. It makes more sense, I think. So I'm amazed that this hasn't happened already.
I got to think the very thing we were talking about with moving apps to larger screens on phones and tablets. This is going to give them that advantage, surely.
It should do. There's a lot of Android users out there, but their tablet game has always been a bit, of a non-thing.
A lame tablet game. There's a short title right there.
Short title. Lame tablet game. Done.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think that it's something that I'm surprised they didn't think about before. The Chromebook in my head is just a fancy web browser, really. That you've got good apps that you can make use of on the web, and not much else. I know
it's
more.
It's a cheap educational device. That's its key market, I think.
You say cheap, but and Google have continually tried to release devices in the sort of £1,200, £1,300 sort of area that have all the best specs, and some of the tablets are incredible. I mean, I think it's OnePlus's tablet is like a sheet of paper. It's thinner than an iPad Pro with a processor that's comparable. They make some really amazing hardware for some of the devices, and some of their earlier laptops, Chromebooks, were really, really premium with lots of RAM and all the rest. I don't know what you do with all that RAM, considering it's...
Well, that was going to be my comment of, that's great, but and what? And what can I do with it?
I mean, I presume you can, plug USB devices into it. It's got a more flexible file system than an iPad. You'll be able to take media with you. Things like Photopea or whatever out there that will run on websites are quite comparable to Photoshop. So it's not like it's a useless device. If it's got the power to actually make use of it on device, then that's not necessarily a bad thing.
True. Anyway, it's good they're doing it. It'd be good for Apple to have better competition in the iPad arena, I think. So maybe something will come out of it in a year's time. Who knows? Maybe
it will. Should we do a very brief car corner?
Go on then.
I didn't know where else to put this, frankly. This is a story in Engadget today, actually, about how the UK needs to deal with this e-scooter problem. And I can only agree with this. I don't know what it's like round with you, but increasingly I see people zipping around on e-scooters.
I can't believe you can have people on scooters on the road and it's fine. I don't agree with it. You've got scooters just darting around and you're driving a car. I just don't think this is right.
The thing is, it's not fine, is it? It's technically illegal in the UK to have these kinds of vehicles.
But nothing ever seems to happen.
Yeah. There are cities with trials, so I think if for European listeners, if you go to Stockholm or Helsinki or presumably Paris, I haven't been to Paris in a while, but you can rent e-scooters and you can zip along the roads quite the thing. It's in most European countries and across America, I know as well. It's not an issue. You can just make use of e-scooters. Come on, you got to think about it. From one point of view, they're a perfect solution to modern urban travel problems.
Okay, I think they're awesome. I love them. I've had to go on holiday when there's like a nice promenade and a designated cycle lane, but on the road, I just don't think they're right on the road.
Why are they any different to an e-bike?
Fair. All right. Well, then people need to have some competency, but I guess it's the same on a bike, isn't it? You don't need to pass a test or do anything, but it's considered acceptable. Oof.
So I've been run over by an e-bike. I've been in London, and I actually got knocked down on a zebra crossing by an e-bike. Off my feet, smashed my elbow off the ground. It was surprising because it came out of nowhere, and I was on a crossing. There's a lot of weight behind an e-bike. It was an Uber Eats or a Deliveroo rider that got me, so he had the weight of his takeaway and him and the bike that careened into me at full speed. That's that's just as dangerous as one of these e-scooters driven badly. It's on the same roads as them. I think the time is probably coming where there should be like a competency that you've got to fit within UK law for X, Y, and Z, as most of the e-bikes aren't because they're not policed well either. And maybe they're allowed in bike lanes in some cities, or there should be some sort of provision for them in bigger cities, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it is a good way of moving people around. I'm surprised we don't see more of them for commuters that, have a Brompton bike. Is it Brompton?
Yeah, the foldables are Brompton.
Yeah, the foldable bike you see on a train. Why wouldn't they have a foldable e-scooter,
I agree. The problem is they're technically illegal in this country. They're only for use on private land.
It's mad, isn't it?
It is, and that's the thrust of this article is we need to do something about it because they're there. As you said, the police aren't doing anything about it, but you can go to a shop and you can buy them now, and I see people commuting to work on them.
It's just a real grey area, isn't it?
But that's it. We need to grasp the nettle a little bit. And the sort of thrust of the article is actually Boris Johnson's government were going to do something about it, and then because they were voted out, that was the end of that. But I think the current government really need to address this because micromobility is really important, and I think getting people safely to and from work, school, whatever it may be, needs to be accounted for because people are just going to use them because they already are.
They already are, and it's probably better for us to have less cars.
I think so. I absolutely, charging one of these up is a fraction of what it would be to drive your car 3 miles down the road or whatever it is and back again.
And it takes up less space, less congestion.
Yeah, you don't arrive at work sweaty. You don't need to change your clothes potentially. I mean, I would suggest people should probably wear helmets riding them, but that's just me.
I think I agree with you there.
Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that these kinds of things are beginning to appear in the mainstream media. Engadget's an American website; it's not a British one. So I think that
it's interesting they've picked it up.
Yep, definitely. Should we do some media?
Let's do it.
So first up, and I don't think you watched it, Chris, but the Murderbot finale was on Friday. It's a little thing on Apple TV Plus, another science fiction show. I think I talked about it already.
Yep, you did. I tried. I don't know. I just didn't feel it.
You're not big on TV, particularly short-form TV anyway, though, so I'll let you off with that one. I thought it was really good. Alexander Skarsgård has done a great job with it. I think it was a nice conclusion to the series. It was just the right amount of funny, just the right amount of drama, just the right amount of everything else that was going on in it. I think the concept's quite fun of a robot that hates humans but actually is and has no AI forcing him to be good. He just decides to be good and do it for the sake of his clients and really enjoys his TV shows. Anyway, it's getting renewed for season 2 and I'm quite excited about that.
Oh, that's cool. I'm pleased for you that you've enjoyed it. It was like when I watched, I can't remember what it's called, Dope Thief, I think it was. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't for you. So, they're never going to please everybody, are they?
No, that is true. But I think when it comes to science fiction content particularly, Apple are doing a great job. Foundation Season 3 dropped last Friday, and I really enjoyed the last 2 seasons of Foundation.
I need to watch that because it's got the guy who was in Mad Men, Jared Harris.
Jared Harris, yeah.
And I really like him, so I should really watch that.
You really should watch. He's very, very good in that. It's Lee Pace as well. If you ever watched the TV show *Halt and Catch Fire*, which is, if you haven't watched *Halt and Catch Fire*, you really should. It's a story of the launch of computing in the 80s. It's sort of transformation from the 8-bit days. It's a lot of fun. *Halt and Catch Fire*, really well done.
Okay, I feel like I'm getting a lot of homework.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not assigning you that one. Do you want to tell us about the end of a couple of shows?
I just thought it was worth touching on it. That I don't know if you've watched the end of *The Long Way Home* with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman and Taskmaster. They've all come to an end, and I just thought there was some good, for somebody that doesn't watch a lot of TV shows, I just thought there were some good TV shows and I really enjoyed them. So *Long Way Home* saw Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman bike from Ewan's house in Scotland through, I think, a lot of countries. I think it was 17 countries or something, and then back home to London to Charlie's house, and it was just quite nicely done. They had a good trip, very humble. I really enjoyed it. So there you go.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing too. It's about motorbikes. It has made me want to buy a motorbike again, which may be an issue for others. But I kind of desperately want an old Suzuki Bandit or something like that. I wouldn't buy anything fast again. I think my reactions aren't up to it anymore. But yeah, it was a lovely show. They seemed to faff around a little bit at the start, and then it felt like they were speed running it. They got to Finland, and at that point, they just accelerated it to a ridiculous rate of knots. So I think they could have done with another couple of episodes to sort of really make the most of it.
I would disagree with that. Having a bit more on the planning would have been good, but they did seem to rush the ending. It's like, we'll be home by the end of the show kind of thing. It's like, oh, right, well, are we not going to enjoy the last few countries and take some of it in? So that was a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was nice to see the Rivians pop up again after a long way up. It was, I don't know if Rivian gifted them the vans or whatever it was, but at least a portion of it remained electric.
Yeah, there's got to be a bit of sponsorship in there.
Yeah, and then Taskmaster came to an end as well.
Which was fantastic. Me and my son watched it and genuinely really enjoyed it and got into this one. So enjoyed it. We've had a good run of some TV.
I think this is one of the greatest Taskmaster seasons of all time, I've got to say, and I'm an aficionado.
Yeah, I don't think I would disagree with that statement. I think it was very good. From the ones I've seen, I've not seen them all. I think it was very good.
Yep, terrific. Real return to form after the thing that came before.
Yep.
And then last but not least, and I had to read this story twice because I thought when I originally read it that it was saying that Apple was going to get streaming rights to the Formula One movie, which was blowing my mind because I knew they already had made the following Formula One movie. So what was this about? So do you want to tell us about this?
Isn't this where they are going to try and get the streaming rights for it? Isn't that what it is?
Not the film, streaming rights for Formula One to actually broadcast for. So you hadn't even realised this. There you go.
I was confused too. I knew Apple were kicking the tires on doing this.
What?
And in a way, it's quite good. In a way, if they get this and include in my Apple TV Plus subscription, I'll be a very happy person because it will save me a small fortune per month. I'm curious to see where they're going to do it. There's been a lot of Apple people at the Formula One, but I didn't know whether that was to do with the film or because they're doing this at the same time. But there's been a lot of talking around this. I mean, F1's been on Sky, though, for a long time now. So, yeah, curious to see whether they pull this off. Like I say, selfishly, this would save me 30 quid a month. I'd be quite happy with that. But knowing Apple, they'd probably charge me more money to watch than I do with the MLS.
So this is for US broadcasts, as far as I can see. I don't think it'll affect your UK subscription at all.
Womp. That's that then. But they may well charge more for it. I do worry, though, if they did it in the UK with Formula One, be worried they're going to lose a bunch of their user base because they wouldn't know how to get Apple TV. Because there is still that thing around Apple TV Plus and people going, I can't get it, I've got an Apple phone. It's like, no, you don't need an Apple phone. You can watch. I think they fumbled the start because they didn't launch it on all the devices. They've really struggled to get it everywhere, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. I mean, sports has been an interesting thing for Apple that we saw. Major League Soccer has been obviously the area where they've done it. They've had a little bit of baseball attempts with MLB at bat on a Friday night, which is free, whether you're an Apple Sports subscriber or not. It's all American sports at this point, and the fact this relates to the Formula One and US broadcast rights makes sense too. This is going to be complicated. But what makes me slightly interested about it is, well, now the same Liberty Media on MotoGP as well. Will I eventually get MotoGP on my Apple TV?
Could do. But will it only be in America?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's not potentially a bad thing for Apple to be able to get an audience to motorcycling or Formula One, which are probably a little more underserved than a soccer or a baseball or a cricket or whatever else they might get. I know they've been desperate for the NFL or whatever, but I just thought this was interesting. No,
it is interesting to see where the Apple are going to go with growing their sports base because it feels like they want to do something. I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm gutted now it's not going to be in the UK. That's annoyed me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how we get on with it, won't we? But just on that, I'm going to show you something, and this isn't going to work on the video podcast so much. But there was a race at the Saxon Ring yesterday in MotoGP, and the man that won the race, spoilers, sorry, is an absolute legend called Marc Marquez, who had the most horrific upper body injuries a couple of years ago. He's a world champion 5 times over. Never thought he was going to win another race. He had some amazing surgery in MotoGP's equivalent of Drive to Survive, really. Marc Marquez All In, it's called. Anyway, he won this race by 5 seconds just so he could do this. And this is called aura farming, this little dance. This has gone viral, apparently. There's more than 60 million people have watched this on Instagram, this little dance that he's done.
Okay, so this is a guy who's just won on a motorbike, standing up on the motorbike, doing a dance with his arms.
But this dance is super famous, and I've only just found this out from my children today, that this aura farming thing starts, and I'm really trying to find a way to show this appropriately. It started with this kid here, but as you can see, even in Formula One, even in all sorts of things, it's from this Indonesian boat thing, and
I did not know this was a thing.
But it started with this kid in the background with the sunglasses and the hat. So it's a whole thing, this aura farming, which I'd never heard of till yesterday, but everybody's doing it. Marc Marquez has just made it famous, though. But do you think you bring a personality like that onto a platform like Apple, who are able to do these kinds of things? It's just the world is now a meme.
Yeah, that's true. You've shown me something I had never heard of.
There you go. It's a good test for how plugged in your kids are, whether you know about this kind of stuff, frankly.
Yeah, true. They can educate me.
Anyway, Aura Farming, check it out. Aura Farming Boat Kid. Should we do some games?
Let's do it.
Okay. First up, and I just think we don't need to talk about this very much. I bought a Switch 2 Pro controller. It cost me £80 or just under £80.
They're quite expensive.
That's quite expensive. And then when I read this article in The Verge, which I'm going to read verbatim, the Switch 2 Pro is a piss poor excuse for a controller rated by iFixit. I believe it's not very well made, is what it boils down to. And I thought it felt quite good, but I'm feeling quite disappointed with my purchase at this point.
So I've got the first Pro controller. I think it's very well made. It feels it, but I've never taken it to pieces. I'm amazed the Switch 2 supports Switch 1 controllers, because they've just lost a load of money from me because I'm not going to upgrade my controllers. I mean, it is disappointing because Nintendo do charge a premium product. They do seem to cheap out a little bit on the sticks and stuff, and yeah, I'm a bit disappointed.
Yeah, so I picked up an 8-bit Do Ultimate 2, as we talked about before, which is the Hall effect controllers. What a nicely made controller this is. Nintendo need to be going to speak to 8-bit Do, frankly, because this is it's a very premium product, I got to say. It's very clicky.
And they're not expensive, are they?
It was £50.
That's all right.
Charges with USB.
That's what I'd expect to pay.
Charges with USB-C, comes with the dock for charging it again, which none of these things really do. Lots of functionality, works as an Xbox controller on a Mac. You can use the RF transmitter that it comes with, or it works over Bluetooth as well. It's a really nice controller. I'm really impressed with it.
Yeah, that's quite cool, isn't it?
It is quite cool. Next up, and I don't know if you watched or read the Expanse books.
Nope.
So the Expanse books were written by the guy that wrote Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin's editors. They started their own science fiction series. There was 2 seasons of it on the Sci-Fi Channel, I want to say, in America. It might not have been, but a channel that broadcast sci-fi in America. Jeff Bezos liked it so much, when they cancelled it, he bought the rights for it and finished it on Amazon because he's such a fan of the books.
Wow, okay.
They're very good books. It's a very well done TV show. It's quite hard sci-fi in the sense that there's nominally a real world impact of what they do. So, for example, you can't just accelerate forever. You'd be smushed against the back as pink paste. So the sort of physics are really accounted for in terms of how long things take to travel and all the rest of it. Anyway, related to games, they're making an RPG game of it.
Okay.
And I'm quite excited about that. The fact that it's going to be quite close to Mass Effect, which is a well-regarded RPG, is good, but a lot of the sort of early screenshots and things I've seen for the Expanse game, I think make it look really good. It really captured the feeling of the TV show, particularly, and what goes on in the books. Yeah, excited to see this come along.
It's always nice when there's something coming that you can get excited about, because I don't know, in the game space there's not much I'm actually looking forward to at the moment.
Yeah, it's all a bit quiet after the disappointment that was Civilization 7.
Agreed.
Which I did try and play again this week after all the updates and didn't enjoy at all.
Yeah, I've not sat in that room to play any games in our house because it's been so hot. So I haven't played any computer games this week.
And last but not least, I have played a game myself this week. I can't talk about this too much because I'm on the beta trail for this, but the chap that wrote Monkey Island, Ron Gilbert, and Thimbleweed Park, and a bunch of other games, all really sort of legendary games designer. Day of the Tentacle is another one of his that was sort of a really big noise back in the day. Has a new game out that he announced in February called Death by Scrolling, which is kind of like I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit like Vampire Survivors, but the screen is continually moving. I'm not going to talk about any more than that, but it's a joy. It really is the pure essence of gaming. I've thoroughly enjoyed my little bit of time with the beta. I personally got a response from Ron Gilbert when I had an issue with it, so I'm blown away. I just think it's great. And you think this was announced in February the 2nd, and I am playing the beta as a beta tester now in July. So that's fair play. So watch out for this one when it comes to Steam.
Cool.
Yep. Death by Scrolling.
I think that's it though for games, because like I say, I've not touched anything.
Okay, well, we'll go for a short show because we've only got a little bit of stuff to talk about, and I thought it might have been worth us talking a little bit about sort of obsolescence and the fact that companies keep going under, and then things that you've bought. We've talked about this before in terms of buying things from the PlayStation Store, movies being revoked, and games not actually being yours, and all the rest of it. And there's been a couple of stories recently that have made us think about this, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So, do you want to tell us what your thoughts are about this Nintendo article that you've added?
Well, I just stuck this up more to set the scene, I think, because obviously, I think we spoke about it last year that Nintendo turned off the 3DS and the Wii U store and things. It's like, well, I guess they know how many people are using it, but what happens if I want to go and have a bit of nostalgia and boot something up? You can't then do it, especially if you've got all the digital games and stuff, which is what I've done on my Switch. They're all digital games. 10 years from now, am I not going to be able to play those games? Will none of it work? Even if I've got them downloaded, will they not work because I won't be able to do any security checks online? And I just, like I say, just put it in there more as a scene-setting bit of context of, it's a thing, isn't it? Because you plough a lot of money into these things. There's a 3DS somewhere in this house, and it'd be nice to turn it on and go and get some games and do stuff, but you just can't do it. And I think that's a bit disappointing.
I 100% agree with you. And that's the thing, isn't it? You buy the thing on the understanding that it's going to keep working. And unfortunately, with something like this, and software, game software particularly, what it will do is it will drive people to piracy. That they've already got their games, or they'll go and download it, or they'll get an emulator, and Nintendo particularly is very resistant to these kinds of things happening. Although Riley Testolt's game Delta emulator on the iOS store lets you play a lot of these kinds of things. Why wouldn't the company just offer it themselves? And why would they shake your faith in purchasing things from them? Because what it means is, I just got Mario Kart. It cost me, I think, would have cost me £8 if it hadn't come in the box. Mario Kart World.
It's an expensive game.
It's an expensive game, and I'm not buying a game. I'm buying a service, and the service may be taken away from me at any point, and that flies in the face of where we've been with games. The purchase of a physical disc, cartridge, ROM, whatever it was that you'd get in order, it was yours at that point, and it's not that way anymore.
Yeah, I've got my original Nintendo Wii up in the roof. One day I might want to boot it up and remember and see how poor the graphics are on it, but how good the gameplay was. And I'll be able to do that because the discs are there and you could just have a go on it. But yeah, it is frustrating, isn't it, this digital piece? Because I am in on buying digital games. I think it is actually quite good. I don't need the cartridges lying around. I can share them with my kids, especially now Nintendo have done that virtual cards thing we spoke about, which is really good. But I don't want to go and buy physical games because I don't want all those things in my house. So there's got to be a better way. I don't know how they do it. That's the problem, I guess. And there is a cost to running these services. And I guess as time goes on, you've got less and less people using them.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the broader piece here. Cause let's bring in the second part of the discussion, which is the software and then there's hardware. And hardware that's sort of enabled by the cloud. In this case, we're talking about Belkin ending its support for its Wemo smart home products. So the Wemo things were some of the best best HomeKit supporting devices you could get for a number of years. There were doorbells and plugs and all external plugs so you could automate your garden watering stuff and all the rest of it. So, well-known company, Belkin, we've spoken about them repeatedly on this podcast as being a device that we'd think about choosing. Logitech, Belkin, these brands are sort of well-known. And it's really bad that they've just decided to turn off the cloud side of it. Therefore, it will stop working in January 2026.
It doesn't give you that long either.
It's really not long. It's less than 6 months. I mean, if you're not in an Apple HomeKit in this case, you're going to lose the ability to work with those devices. And how long will Apple continue to support it for?
Yeah, it is a concern. So all my home stuff is predominantly in Apple Home. But like I've got a Dyson here just behind me. What happens when the app stops working? I've now got a Dyson I can't use for the for the functionality I bought it for all those years ago. So you are going to have more forced obsolescence, aren't you? Whereas actually these things should go on for longer and longer.
I mean, if you're a company, this is your ideal situation, isn't it? Because that's the point. You can start charging a subscription to maintain your services. But if you buy a doorbell that works with your own stuff, you wouldn't expect them to take away that functionality that you spent 200, 300, 400, 500 quid on.
Which is what put me off. I think it's Ringo doorbells. They want to push you for a subscription for those. And I ended up getting the Logitech one because it links to Apple HomeKit and there's no subscription. It's a slightly higher cost product. I'm all right with that. But I'd rather pay once rather than pay every month. And that's how I would rather be.
But even in that case, it may be that Logitech decide to stop supporting those devices and you're going to be exactly the same boat because they presumably still need some sort of cloudy back end to keep things up running.
It all just works on Apple Secure Video. But obviously Apple could go, you need a newer device with newer firmware on it. and Logitech go, well, we're not touching that device because it's obsolete now, and then it will stop working.
Well, that's it exactly, isn't it? It's the patches and updates that need to happen to those devices. If they find an insecurity in a doorbell that lets you, I don't know, access all the video that's been captured on it, or you turn it to the cameras that are inside the house, or if it's linked to your smart lock or something like that, a means of getting in. There's
all of that could be problematic.
All of that could be problematic, and I think about it for me when my bicycle manufacturer seemed to be about to go under, and I wouldn't have been able potentially to ride the bike without the app. So if they'd switched off their cloud services, all the locking and unlocking features would have gone with that. So that's a £3,500 bicycle that would have gone away as a consequence of the manufacturer deciding not to support it.
Which you hadn't had for very long.
Which I hadn't had for very long. So all of this stuff I don't think gets reported on or thought about enough, really. That sort of the digital obsolescence of things is really where we are. That, let's face it, if one day Apple decided, right, you're going to pay a subscription for all of our devices, it's going to be $31.99 a month just to maintain access to your files and stuff, that people would be up in arms. But I also suspect some people would just pay it because they're relying on the devices to do whatever. And Microsoft already do this, I think, as their Microsoft Office subscription, or all that kind of stuff. You're not really buying computers anymore, or operating systems particularly. You're renting them, and that's worse for Apple devices because there really aren't many alternatives. Your Windows laptop, you can probably go away and install something else on, or an earlier version of the operating system. You're kind of stuck with Apple.
Yeah, you don't own anything anymore. A few of my children's friends said to me, I can't believe you bought a Switch 2, because if you decide to do anything to it, Nintendo can disable it, if you try and hack it or do anything. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do that. But they were put off getting one because that's what they'd read online somewhere or seen on TikTok probably. But it is a concern, I think, these days that, you don't truly own it anymore. It's probably the same with cars as well.
Well, very much the same with cars. I was reflecting on this. I was driving back from where I was earlier in the day, that if whatever cloudy keys enable you to drive this thing, they decide to revoke them or whatever, or your car, let's face it, gets hacked because it's not particularly secure operating systems running it, no matter what car it is. We've seen reports of Kias and Hyundais being stolen trivially easily because of how you can get into the cars based on the software they've got in there. It wouldn't be much of a stretch for BMW, Audi, whoever else to be in exactly the same boat.
And my Beamer was always trying to push me to sign up to some service to maintain the firmware on it and other bits.
That was never a problem you used to have with a car that you bought in the 90s.
No, but that's a balance, isn't it? Do you want to have modern mapping and software updates? I don't know. And I don't know what the right answer is, to be fair.
I mean, I guess
sometimes you just want it to be in the same state it was when you left it the other day. When you parked it up, you want to get back in it, and everything's exactly the same. Yeah,
of course. And there's a distinction here that you could always break into cars. It's not that big a deal. You can smash a window, you can cross a wire, and off you go. But there's a difference between a thief taking it and, say, Tesla deciding, right, we don't want you to have this car anymore, and it drives away from your drive.
Yeah, that's true. You haven't made your credit card didn't make the payment, so we're just going to take it back to the dealership.
Yeah, it's your lease on our vehicle, which you happen to pay £52,000 for, no longer applies. Therefore, we're taking it back.
Wow.
It's a world to think about, isn't it? Because what comes next in this country, unlike other countries, we're quite keen on owning our own property.
Yep. It's a real cultural thing, isn't it?
It's whereas most countries rent, I think, or certainly a lot of our European neighbours do, which it's a different mindset, and that sort of renting mindset is what we've adopted for software, hardware products, phones that we buy, Apple upgrade programs for whatever, Android of the same sort of thing, your mobile phone contract. That sort of extension from that, it goes a long way, and the concept of ownership is becoming a bit fluid, and I don't know if we're going in the right way with all these things.
No, I agree with you. I'm somebody that's trying to have less monthly payments, not more. I like the idea of I buy something, I pay for it, and then I don't owe anybody any money. Nothing's going to be taken away from me. But I think I'm in the minority.
Let's go back to VHS tapes or DVDs. It was good enough then.
I must confess, I do like not having lots of media around the house to lose and scratch. But at least you owned it.
At least you owned it. They had to come in at your house to take it away if you wanted it back.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of own my stuff now because I've backed it all up to various hard drives and things. But, a sufficiently motivated person who could get into your network and just, run a couple of key commands could remove all that from your life, couldn't they?
Yeah, 100%. Or you could have a fire or whatever it may be, flood. Something bad could happen, or somebody comes in and steals your backup drives. You just don't know.
I mean, it's worth thinking about what you engage with when you buy, in inverted commas, a product these days. Because I think a lot of the terms, if you look in the terms of service, is it yours, really?
Yeah, no.
The end user license agreement has finally come to bite us all, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The bit of text nobody reads.
But yeah, there we go. I don't think we've got much else to say about that, really, do we? It's just it's worth reflecting on the modern world in which we live and what is actually yours anymore, and that's that.
It's a thought piece, isn't it? Of you've just bought the new Spider-Man game on your PlayStation, but if you want to go and have some nostalgia 15 years from now, you're probably going to have to go and buy a game on the new platform because the old one won't work.
If you're lucky that they've done a remastered one, or if they decided not to pull it, because that happened recently as well. They pulled a bunch of remastered games.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Nintendo that they brought a lot of retro stuff to their consoles. I've quite enjoyed a little bit of that, I must confess.
App of the week.
Let's do it.
My app of the week this week is called SniffNet. You can get it on, it's quite a dodgy name, I got to say, but the purpose of it is, did you ever run Little Snitch on your Mac back in the day?
Yeah, a long time ago.
So Little Snitch would sit in your taskbar and monitor inbound and outbound network connections, so it was like an adjunct to your firewall. So if you wanted to make sure that the new piece of software you'd installed from ChatGPT wasn't sending all of your keystrokes back, SniffNet will let you do that in the same way that Little Snitch did back in the day. It's open source, so you can install this now, you can see what's going on, see what your computer's connected to, and sort of go on from there. And it's just a little recommendation to see SniffNet if you want to see what's happening with your computer. Not a bad shout. Works on Windows, Linux, and Mac. Yeah,
it's quite cool. They support everything. And sometimes it can be like, oh, right, I didn't realise this was all happening in the background. It can be quite an eye-opener.
Yeah, I don't think it's something you need to run all the time, but if you're putting a piece of software on you're not 100% sure about, having something like this in your tool chain is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep, no, agreed.
Thing of the week?
Thing of the week is... Hang on.
This isn't good radio, by the way. He's wandered off screen. He's coming back. He's taking his headphones off even. Good grief.
I bought a Beats pill.
You bought a Beats pill for £149?
I paid significantly less on the Amazon sale. But it was at such a good price. I thought, you know what, I fancy one. And once I confirmed that it does that thing where when you add a pair of Apple headphones to your phone, it then is on all your iCloud devices. I was like, done. Because that does annoy me with some Bluetooth things where you can only pair it to one or two things and play simultaneously. So I got that, and I got it in red, and it's very heavy. If ever you need to throw something large at a window to break it to get out because there's a fire, this is what you should get. Probably why it's in red. Do you know what? What a lovely made thing it is. Sounds all right. I haven't had it for very long. But yeah, it seems all right. And it works just like a pair of AirPods that you can, link it to your iCloud account, like I say, and just use it anywhere, which is huge because I can just have slightly better audio when I'm working, and you can get two and pair them and things and have stereo pair, which I think is quite cool and probably a cheaper way than doing HomePods. I just think it's a nice bit of kit, and the price I paid for it was not half price, but not a million miles away from it. So I thought I'd treat myself to something different.
And probably more reliable than HomePods too.
I've still only got one broken HomePod in the 7 years I've owned them, or however many years it is.
I think you're a HomePod unicorn.
I've still got a broken one, which is going on eBay to see if anybody wants to buy it for spares. But I've done all right with my HomePods. They'd still a stereo pair of HomePods though. It's a good sound. I just wish Apple would give that line a bit more love.
I won't argue. I won't start a thing about Sonos at this point. Well, this looks interesting. I haven't used a wireless speaker like this in a long time. I have a Sonos Roam as part of my setup, but generally it stays off because the sound in the rest of the house is good enough that I don't need it. And when I'm traveling, I tend to just make do with the speakers in the laptop that I've got or the phone that I've got rather than them. So what use cases have you got for
it? Ping pong. We play a lot of ping pong in my house. It's good to put on the ping pong table and have some tunes. Outside, just on the patio table, where you've got some friends over, a bit of background music. I did have a JBL one, but my son kept pairing it with his phone that kept knocking my phone out of it. So I thought he can have that one. It was like £20. The JBL one, by the way, fantastic. Such a well-made piece of kit for not a huge amount of money. But I just fancied it and thought, that'd be cool. Like I say, it's just more something as an occasional speaker to use with no faff to set up.
Yep, looks good. My kids have both got Ultimate Ear Booms, I think is what they're called, and that's a really surprisingly loud little speaker for what it is.
Yeah, this one seems all right. It's It's nowhere near a HomePod quality, but it's nowhere near a HomePod price. But I think they're a good bit of kit, so I'm quite pleased with it. And the design is just generally really nice.
Fair enough. I think we can call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anyone wants to get in contact with us, Rod is at g5maniac@mastodon.scot. He's also on Blue Sky, where he's at g5maniac.bsky.social. I'm on Mastodon, and I am at _CJP at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to the website and clicking on the link, and you can drop us an email, wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.